Hey guys, it's time for another edition of the Retro Review. This is the series where I review all the Coliseum home videos chosen by you, the viewer. That's right, you guys took a vote out of 3 videos, and whichever video got the most votes was the winner. Now, of course, all Coliseum videos are out of print. They cannot be bought at any stores, but the best way to buy these tapes nowadays is via eBay and Amazon. And at the end of the video, I hope that I help you guys out in deciding if you want to buy the video or not. You know, it's ironic that this particular year, 2013, is the 50th anniversary of the WWE Heavyweight Championship. And there have been a lot of champions throughout the years. But this video covers about 16 of those years. Today's review, the history of the WWF Heavyweight Championship. Now, I wonder real quick, what's Hogan looking at? You ever notice that? But you know what, real quick before I get into the review, I want to show you guys something. This is really cool. This is what I found in the video case. If you were a video store owner, you could have applied to this. You know, you could have replied to this. This is really cool. This is really a rare item. Actually, I'll say this real quick. Somebody recently sold on eBay a Coliseum video trailer, I guess would be the right word, to show your customers at the store. Like, it would be clips of, like, Coliseum videos, certain ones, you know. It was very neat. It was a little bit too much for me to buy, but, you know, it was still pretty cool. So anyway, the history of the WWF Championship. This video is hosted by Craig DeGeorge, and his guests for this are luscious Johnny Valiant and Bobby the Brain Heenan. Now, a very important reminder into this, and actually Johnny Valiant does say this in the beginning of the video, which I actually enjoy because he's serious about it. He's not his crazy, wacky self. That is that some of the footage of title changes and title matches, A, never exist, or B, have been lost to history. But you will see almost every match. There is one match that is not a championship match, but you are going to see a lot of the best champions. Also, Bobby Heenan brings up that there are 2 segments of 2 wrestlers who came within an eyelash of becoming WWF champion. I'll get into that a little bit later in the review. So, let's start it off. In 1963, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers was named the first ever WWF Heavyweight Champion, but would lose the title in May of 1963 to Bruno Sammartino. Bruno Sammartino would hold that title for almost 8 years until the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, defeated Sammartino in Madison Square Garden for the title. And actually, that match, or highlights of that match, is on YouTube. So if, you know, after you're done watching this review, go check it out. There are highlights of Ivan Koloff, Bruno Sammartino, that match. Now, 3 weeks later, Ivan Koloff back at Madison Square Garden to defend his title against Pedro Morales. And this is where our first match begins. Now, one thing that you will notice when watching the videotape is that DeGeorge, Heenan, and Valiant will do commentary well, not throughout all the matches, but some of the matches. And there are times when it's good, and there are other times when it's really not necessary. This is actually a good time because 1971, I don't believe they've struck a deal to air Madison Square Garden shows on TV. But anyway, this is an interesting match. It's an old footage but it's good footage. It's still in good condition, and it's actually on the History of the WWE DVD, which would come out almost 20 years later after this tape was released, still in good condition. This is an interesting match. It's somewhat a long match. I mean, you get your clips, but it's long, and the ending is such a good ending. I like this. Koloff grabs Morales by the waist. Morales is trying to find a way out. Morales grabs the top rope with both hands, and then he kicks himself off of the top turnbuckle, and Koloff's in a German suplex pinning position. 1, 2, Morales gets the shoulder up. 3, Pedro Morales wins the match, becomes the WWF champion. Arnold Skull and Bruno Sammartino there to congratulate. Now we go to this next match. And I want to point to this match specifically because Bobby Heenan makes an interesting comment. Although when you look at it now today, it's very different. The match is Pedro Morales against Stan the Man Stasiak. Now Bobby Heenan feels that Stasiak should have won the title this night. I know I'm spoiling it, but there's a point to this. Heenan says that this match has the most controversial ending to any championship match in history. Wait till you get to November 97, Mr. Heenan. So anyway, we get the final moments of Morales and Stasiak. It's a 53-minute match. Thankfully, we don't get to see all 53 minutes. However, the match stops because of curfew. So, for some reason, and again, this is wrestling, we go to the judges. And the judges award the match to Pedro Morales. Morales would hold on to the title. Now, after that, we get 2 still photos. One saying that Stan Stasiak defeated Pedro Morales to become the champion in December of '73, but 8 days later would lose the title to Bruno Sammartino. And now we go into this section of Bruno Sammartino. You're actually going to get 3 sections in this videotape. The first one is Bruno Sammartino. And what a better way to start it off than the match against Killer Kowalski. I reviewed that match in the Bruno Sammartino video that is up now. You guys can check that out a little bit later after you watch this video. And it's the match where Bruno's bleeding and he and Kowalski just have a fight. They go all over the place. Bout ends in a no contest. Next, we have Sammartino in 2 matches against Ivan Koloff. Although the order's a little bit backwards. The first match we get is Sammartino and Koloff in a cage match. This is December of '75. And it's a good match, a good cage match. It ends with Sammartino sending Koloff to the post, to the end of the cage over and over again. He walks out, leaves. Then the other match we get is from the month before, where it is Sammartino and Ivan Koloff. The guest referee is Gorilla Monsoon. Now, this is my first complaint. And I don't really have much complaints about this, but this is my first complaint. Why would you have the final match between the two first, and then the match that would set up the cage match second? That doesn't make any sense. That's a bad choice of editing. But Gorilla Monsoon's a good referee. I don't know when he's never been a good referee. The end of the match, both men are on the outside. Sammartino's on the apron. Koloff is on the floor. Koloff grabs a chair, hits Sammartino square in the head with a chair. Monsoon calls for the bell, calls for the disqualification. Bruno Sammartino wins the match. Now, we go to a non-title match. with the two previous title history videotapes, there were no non-title matches. This one has a non-title match. Not complaining, I'm just stating the facts. It is Bruno Sammartino in a non-title match against Mr. Fuji. This is not really the best match in the world. It is a TV match. And it's just a weird match. You know, Fuji gets control for a little bit. But I do like the ending because it's the type of ending you really don't expect. Fuji goes onto the top rope. Sammartino grabs him, shakes him a little bit, throws him off, onto the mat. Then, after Fuji gets up, Sammartino sends Fuji to the ropes. Back body drop by Sammartino. 1, 2, 3. Bruno Sammartino wins on a back body drop. How great is that? Have you ever known anybody to win a match via the back body drop? How great is that? Now, we intertwine here because we're going to go into the end of the first era, the Sammartino era, and we're going to start the second era because the match is Bruno Sammartino versus superstar Billy Graham. Now, the first match is from January 1976, Madison Square Garden. Now, this is a whole year prior to the next match that's going to take place. So, Sammartino and Graham, both muscular guys, both great condition athletes. The end of the match is they do the crisscross routine. They bump each other. Graham goes down on the mat. Sammartino goes out tumbling onto the floor. Referee's starting to count both men. Billy Graham gets up by like 9.5. Sammartino is counted out. Billy Graham wins as a result of a countout. Although, if you listen to the commentary, Vince McMahon says that anyone on the outside of the ring should get a 20 count, while the person in the ring should have only gotten a 10, so a little bit of controversy. Now we go to the second match. April 30th, 1977, a historic day in wrestling history. Because in some way, this is the end of an era for WWE, or WWF. Bruno Sammartino, superstar Billy Graham, Baltimore, Maryland. Vince McMahon is on commentary there for that night. Vince McMahon mentions that Billy Graham, even though he is the #1 contender, chose to wrestle for the title instead of competing in a battle royal that was taking place on this card. And this is a fun match. This is an entertaining match. Billy Graham does bleed in the match, and the ending is so good because Bruno's got Graham in the corner, and he's punching him, he's hitting him a couple times. Referee breaks him away. Graham sweeps Bruno by the legs down. Referee's counting 1, and then right at about 1.5 to 2, Graham gets his feet on the ropes. 2, 3, Billy Graham wins, becomes the new WWF Heavyweight Champion. Referee never saw his feet on the ropes. Billy Graham becomes the champion. Now we go into the first segment of the guys who came within an eyelash of becoming WWF Champion. This match is superstar Billy Graham against Gorilla Monsoon. Now, Craig DeGeorge does commentary for this match. Very interesting, to say the least. Gorilla Monsoon, 2 minutes into this match, almost beats Billy Graham for the title. Monsoon hits Graham with a body slam and then does the running splash. 1, and Billy Graham gets his feet on the ropes. 2, and the referee's hand is like 5 inches away from the mat from hitting a 3 count. That's how close Gorilla Monsoon was to becoming WWF Heavyweight Champion. So now we go later into the match. Gorilla Monsoon locks in the bear hug on Billy Graham. And then after Billy Graham gets out of it, Billy Graham locks in the bear hug on Gorilla Monsoon. They both go to the outside of the ring. Graham still holding on to the bear hug, rams Monsoon back first into the barricade, rolls him back into the ring, climbs the top rope, hits a knee drop, 1, 2, 3, Billy Graham beats Gorilla Monsoon to stay the champion. That's the closest Gorilla Monsoon ever got to being the champion. So now we end this chapter, this second era, I guess you could say, and we start the third, because the match is Superstar Billy Graham against Bob Backlund for the title, February 20th, 1978. And this is a match that is very interesting. It's two complete different styles. Billy Graham, this big, muscular, bodybuild type guy, you know, who's a good athlete. And Bob Backlund, this wholesome, all-American, down-to-earth, amateur champion wrestler. And we get to the end of the match, and it's very interesting because it's all Bob Backlund for the last couple minutes of the match. And then we get to the conclusion. Bob Backlund hits Billy Graham with an atomic drop. Hits him with an atomic drop, goes for the pin. 1, 2, Graham's foot is on the rope. 3, Bob Backlund wins. The referee never sees Billy Graham's foot on the rope. Bob Backlund becomes the WWF Heavyweight Champion. So Billy Graham loses the title the same way he won the title, with his feet on the ropes. So now we fast forward almost 4 years to January 1982, where Bob Backlund defends the title against Greg the Hammer Valentine. This time it is inside of a steel cage. And this is a good cage match. You know, both men are going at it. There are a couple of times where both men come close to escaping the cage and winning. Greg Valentine is bleeding. Now, Valentine doesn't bleed as much in this match as, say, the dog collar match of the original Starrcade, or in one of my earlier reviews, the best of the WWF Volume 4, where he's in a battle royal and he's bleeding pretty good. So the end of the match, Bob Backlund is considering going out the door. Valentine is getting him. Backlund comes back, grabs Valentine, hits a pile driver in the middle of the ring, and Bob Backlund escapes the cage, stays the champion. After the match, you see or you hear Valentine screaming, "Come here, Backlund! Come here, Backlund!" And, you know, Valentine is very upset. Now, here's an interesting note. Of the three title history videotapes, Greg the Hammer Valentine is the only one to have been on all 3 tapes. That's how important, if you think about it, that's how important Greg Valentine is to not only the history of the world of WWE, but to the history of wrestling as well, because he was there for some big moments, not only for WWF, but also, for Jim Crockett Promotion and so many other places. So Greg Valentine does have a place in history. Now we go to the other match where a guy comes within an eyelash of winning the title. This time, it's Jesse the Body Ventura. Ventura challenges Backlund for the title. However, there is a guest referee for this match, Ivan Putski. Now, earlier you probably remember I said how Gorilla Monsoon was always a good referee. He always called it down the middle. Ivan Putski doesn't do that. He does not call this match down the middle. A couple times Ventura has the pin. Putski's down real slow, and he's going 1, 2, and Backlund would get out. Sometimes, he'd get down, and it'd be 1. And McMahon is complaining, and he's like, Putski's not calling it down the middle. He's not doing that great of a job as the referee. So then, Ventura gets Bob Backlund in the body breaker. And Backlund almost quits, but Ventura loses his grip. Now, the second time Ventura puts on the body breaker, Backlund is actually able to get out, gets him in the old Connor victory roll, and Putski does 1, 2, 3. Bob Backlund wins, stays the champion. After that, Ventura goes after Putski, and Putski beats him up. Now, Backlund, in this next one, we get the final minutes of him losing the WWF Championship to the Iron Sheik with the camel clutch. Arnold Skaaland throws the towel in. And then we go to the next month where the Iron Sheik loses the title to Hulk Hogan. We get the final moments of that match. I don't really need to go into full depth those two matches. So now we go to the final match of this tape. Hulk Hogan defends the title against Macho Man Randy Savage. While this is not their best match, and they've had some good matches, this is still a good match. Savage goes early after Hogan, but Hogan fights back. Savage uses Elizabeth, to protect him. And it's a good, back and forth match. It's the ending that shocks everyone. Both men are on the outside. Savage grabs the steel chair. He's about to hit Hogan with the chair, when all of a sudden, Elizabeth takes the chair away from Savage. Oh my gosh. What a surprising moment. And then after that, Savage is complaining to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth argues right back at him. She's standing up. And Monsoon and Heenan, they're like, this is the first time we've ever seen Elizabeth do that. So then the end of the match, Savage again, tries for a top rope move, misses. Hogan gets a roll-up, 1, 2, 3. Hogan wins, stays the champion. But the main thing in this match is the fact that Elizabeth took the chair from Savage, because she knew that if Savage had used the chair, he probably would have been disqualified, and who knows if he would have gotten another title shot at that point in time. But it was so shocking, but yet it was so good. So, now we go back to our hosts. And Craig DeGeorge asks both men who they think's the greatest heavyweight champion of all time. Johnny Valiant says Bruno Sammartino is the greatest champion of all time. Then he goes to Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan says Andre the Giant. Craig DeGeorge then says, but Andre has never won the title. To Bobby Heenan replies, you'll see. And that's the end of the tape. So, what did I think of this videotape? Overall, this is all right. This is an all right tape. It's not really the best of the three. I would say personally, of the three, the Tag Team Championship is the best tape. I would put this second because of the fact that you have, number one, all of these matches, and number two, this video is almost 2 hours long, which is good when you're focusing on your main title. I do have a couple of complaints. One being, a non-title match on a tape that is dedicated to the history of the title. That's complaint number one. Complaint number two is there's too much commentary of Craig DeGeorge, Bobby Heenan, Luscious Johnny Valiant on some of these matches. I want to hear the original commentary, unless, for example, Ivan Koloff and Pedro Morales, where there is no audio of commentary for that match. I want to hear the commentary. I want to hear the commentary of Bob Backlund beating Billy Graham for the belt. I want to hear the commentary of the Bob Backlund, Greg Valentine cage match. I don't want to hear commentary from the hosts. I know it's their job and nothing against them, but I want to hear, the original commentary. But all in all, for a video that at that point in time covers, footage-wise, about 16 of the almost 25 years at that point in time. They did a good job, I thought. And I especially liked the ending where Bobby Heenan says Andre the Giant's the best champion. And then when he says that you'll see, it's like, oh boy, something's gonna happen. And it's almost like they're dropping hints in videos that something is going to happen. It's very good. But overall, if you're interested in sort of the beginnings, the early years of this title, which is spanned 50 years now and has had some all-time greats as champions, I would say get it. I honestly would say get this videotape because you do get some rare matches that you probably won't find anywhere else. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Retro Review. Please stay tuned in the upcoming weeks for where you, the viewer, can vote on the next edition of the Retro Review. I am Wrestling Man, and this has been the Retro Review.